spectrum frontiers. Riding hard, standing tall. From the heart of the people to the rise and the fall. Full spectrum frontiers. Where the stories ignite. Guarding tomorrow with grit in the fight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Full Spectrum Frontiers. I am your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we have Dr. Nelva Lee. Now, Dr. Lee, tell us people who you are, what you do, and where is the best place to find you?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Nelva Lee. Thank you so much for having me on today, Bennett. I am a candidate for Superintendent of Schools here in the state of Georgia. I also was a vocational founder and director for over 20 years of vocational school and homeschool mom and all those wonderful things I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Your listeners can find me at drnelvalee.com. That's drnelvalee.com.
Amazing. So can you share your personal journey from now? Are you an immigrant as well?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. So
You want me to go
share
way
your
back?
yeah, but I've done my homework a little bit here.
Sure.
So your journey from like immigrant and homeschool mom to candidate for Georgia Superintendent of Schools, like how does that happen?
I promise you, it's all weaved together. It really is
Amazing.
So
Take as much time as you need. This is your show. Okay. You tell the story as you see fit.
Sounds good. So I was born in Panama, the country,
Wow.
where the canal runs through.
It's one of my favorite places, actually. But
awesome. Yes, it's a beautiful country. I encourage everyone that has not visited to visit. But during the late 80s, as you know, Noriega was in power, and I actually was a teenager during those years, and it was horrible. So if anyone has not lived through a dictatorship taking over, highly, highly recommend you to be grateful for the United States, okay? Grateful for the freedoms that we are so blessed to have here. So I knew of friends that were exiled, friends that were, suspected to be killed, executed. My family, because my dad worked for the canal, we were actually persecuted. And so anyone that could sent their children away, and so I was sent away a year before the U.S. invaded Panama. So I'm very grateful for that. But I tell you about this story because ever since then, I was very highly tuned into politics. So you can imagine having gone through that at my age. If I was younger, probably not so much, but I was, right at, 14, 15 years of age, and I became so in tune to politics and to just the freedoms that are afforded here in this country. When I came, I joined a political science class, and I thought I was going to go straight into becoming a politician, but thankfully my love for healthcare kind of took over. But I became very interested in politics, like I said, from a very early age. I went off to college to become a nurse and then changed my major to healthcare administration because of, I just recognized that I had natural leadership skills. And I loved it. Absolutely loved being a healthcare administrator. Was working at the Grady Health System, which is a large public hospital here in the state of Georgia. And one of my programs was interpreting services, and found out, through trying to get my interpreters, my bilingual individuals, trained and qualified, that it was so difficult because there were not enough qualified training programs. So guess what? I created my own. And that was my foray into becoming a vocational school founder and CEO. So I trained bilingual individuals to become medical interpreters. And I did that for about 20 years. And I tell you this because at the time that I started this program, I transitioned away from becoming a director to starting this program full time from my home. And around that same time, discovered that my son was on the spectrum. And so he really needed a lot of my time. And that's what started me homeschooling him. I became a homeschool mom while also starting this vocational school. In hindsight, it all worked out beautifully, but at the time, I did not know that it was all planned out, right?
The
It
struggle is real.
exactly it was. I just wanted to do the best for my child, and also pursue this passion of mine of meeting this need that was in the industry. So kind of fast forward to a few years when I adopted my youngest daughter from the foster care system. We adopted her from Puerto Rico. So she came to us not only with a language barrier, but also with a learning disability. And so I found myself kind of starting that whole process again of trying to find the best learning environment for her because she was in a public school system for about 3 months or so. She learned English, but was not learning anything else. And so we ended up putting her into a Montessori school where she absolutely thrived. And I tell you all of this because I don't believe that it was by happenstance that I was able to do all of these things for my kids. And they're both, all three of them are thriving, educationally, academically, socially, all of us. But it's because I was able to do that. I was able to find programs that would allow them to thrive. That were matching their educational needs at the time, and not everyone has that ability. Not everyone, is able to take off from work or is able to put
Yeah,
their
right.
child in a private Montessori school. And I don't think that's fair. Okay, then I really don't. And whenever I see
No, agreed.
injustice, whenever I see that there's something broken in the system, I want to fix it. And so that's just how I'm wired, and that is one of the reasons why I'm running for superintendent of schools. I want to bring school choice to Georgia. School choice.
Gotcha. Yeah, true school choice.
True school. We have something that's called the Promise Scholarship Act, which is $6,500 only for families that live whose children attend a school that's in the bottom 25 percentile. Okay, and only for those who are currently in the school system. So if your child is already pulled out for homeschooling or private school or anything like that, you're not eligible. And obviously, if your child attends a school that's in 50 percentile or above, you're not eligible. And so I want to change that. I want us to mirror something similar to what Florida has, which is $8,000 to any family that wants their child to go to a separate school system other than the public school system. And you can use it in a charter school, private school, homeschool. I want us to be able to give parents the tools that they need so that they can provide the best learning environment for their children. Because if parents are engaged, children will succeed.
Agreed.
Mhm.
For sure. So, I mean, like, what was the big defining moment that made you decide to run for statewide office rather than continue in business or local leadership?
Got it. Got it. Well, I plan to continue in business, so
Right.
they're not
Well,
mutually exclusive.
yeah.
Thankfully.
True story.
Yep. I actually, like I said, ever since as a teenager, have always been very politically inclined, very in tune with politics, and so I always knew that I would run for office, and I've run previously for state senator a couple of times. Did not succeed, and I thought about it, like what was missing in those races, and I figured out that I wasn't truly passionate about the seat. Nothing wrong about being a state senator, but I just wasn't really passionate about that. I am very passionate about education, and
Yeah.
so that I figured this is a really good fit for me. On top of that, the incumbent really needs to go. He's been in the office for 11, going on 12 years. And during his tenure, we have actually declined academically as a state. We're now 38 out of 50. That's a decline under his tenure. 70% of our fourth graders are not proficient in reading. That is a decline under his tenure. 76% of our eighth graders are not proficient in math. That's also a decline under his tenure. So I tell everyone, let's stop going backwards and stop going backwards. We need to start
For sure.
moving forward. We need new leadership with different ideas and a different energy to get things done.
So you founded
Mhm.
and have led a medical and court interpreting trade school?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So with that, what lessons from that experience, of which I know there's many,
Yes.
um, do you think the public education system could adopt?
Well, one of my initiatives, in addition to the school choice, is that I would like to see every high school student graduate not only with a diploma, but also with a trade school certificate. So
Love it.
let me
I
tell you a
love it.
little bit about, about my story. The summer between my junior and senior year in high school, I obtained a trade certificate in healthcare. I knew I was going to go into healthcare, and so I decided, hey, this will be a great way to pay my way to college. And so I obtained a trade certificate, and not only did it help me pay my way to college, but it gave me experience. So it was like a built-in internship. It gave me experience in the industry so that as soon as I finished my degree, I was able to get a really good position because I had experience in the industry plus a degree. So I believe that every child benefits from a trade school, whether you're college bound or not. Now, for those that are not college bound, obviously it's a game changer because now they have a career. Now they are able to
Of course.
fully enter the workforce, fully prepared, able to pay their bills with a career, not just a job. And so I believe it benefits everyone. So, obviously it leads to less discrimination because we used to say, oh, if you're not a college bound kid, then you go to a trade school. No, I say everybody get a trade school certificate, and that way it's an even playing field. And here in the state of Georgia, we are already funding dual enrollment up to 30 credits. So it's going to be a budget neutral issue. So
Yeah.
I truly believe that it will expand the our graduation rate. The students are now going to be able to see going to high school is actually going to help me get a good job. Right
Yeah,
now,
for
in the
sure.
back of right now, most kids recognize that a high school diploma alone is not going to cut it.
Not even a little.
You know?
I mean, there's the outlier, right? But
Correct.
at the end of the day, like, so we have a really good program here in New York where
Hmm.
like so I'll use my youngest daughter as a example, is she is going to graduate with her license in cosmetology.
Wonderful.
Again, it's trade, folks. People need to realize that there's more trades than just electrician,
Correct.
auto mechanic, stuff like that, and that there is these programs that they have, and a lot of schools already have them. A lot of systems already have them. They just we need to change the way we think about
Hmm.
vocational uh, trades, right? That they are the dirty jobs, but they pay really
They're
well.
not all
But they
blue
pay
collar.
really well.
They
Yeah,
just
right.
but they're not all blue collar. So yes, we need electricians and plumbers and welders. Definitely, those are all six figure by the way.
Of course.
However, we also need paralegal. So if you're going to be a lawyer, you can get a paralegal certification. There's a myriad of health certifications, medical certifications that you can get. So still
But
all
you've
these
got phlebotomy, you've got nursing,
exactly
you've got all, yeah.
respiratory techs, you name it, lab technicians. Now and also in the tech world, you have all the coding certifications that you can get. That right now we're outsourcing a lot of those coding jobs to other countries because we don't have enough of qualified individuals here in the US. All of these are very valuable traits that you can have. And like I said, it does not exclude you from going off to college with this trade already in your pocket. But if you're not going to be a college bound student, it is a game changer.
Invaluable.
It's an invaluable skill to have. In addition to high school diploma, you have something that tells the world you are now qualified to do this job and enter this career field, and you're able to be a fully fledged contributing member of society.
So, I mean, we talk. You have a lot of experience with homeschooling and whatnot too. But um, as we know, so many people are just going to stay in public school, right? So,
Okay.
public schools. How should public schools better partner
Hmm.
with businesses and trade organizations, like to align training and real world workforce um, needs.
Right. I really do think that a lot of states, including Georgia, are trying, right?
Yeah.
But they're not doing it within the public school system. So like here in Georgia, we have what we call the WIOA, right? Workforce Initiative Program. However, that's mostly for post-secondary students, adults that are trying to get retrained and things like that. We need to bring that into the public school system. I know about the Buffalo system where by eighth grade, right? Up there by eighth grade, the students are exposed in like a fair type of environment to all these different trades, and they get to pick so that by the time they go into ninth grade, they already know which one they're going to be going to. We need to do that here in the state of Georgia as well, and just expose students. So these are the types of trades that you can get, and letting them know we need you to pick one, right? Doesn't mean that that's
Yeah.
going to be what you're going to do for the rest of your life,
No.
but it gives you a leg up, right? So that by the time you finish in high school, you have this under your belt. You
Yeah,
have
it's
this
foundational.
exactly.
Man. So you brought up school choice earlier. So how would you, I guess, because you're running, how do you have a plan already
Hmm.
to expand school choice and charter options
Correct.
in ways that support both families and traditional public schools? So what can we talk more about that?
I would say that the number one reason why principals and teachers and superintendents are opposed to school choice oftentimes is because of the way that the budget is created. So here in Georgia, we have what we call the QBE budget system, which is a very complicated system. But at the end of the day, the money follows the institution, right? So if you have a child, if in that type of scenario, in that system, when you have a child that comes out of the system and goes to a charter school or public school or private charter school or private school, even homeschool, that child is now taking money away from that institution. Yeah, again, Florida has it where the budget is set up so money follows the student. That is why
Yeah.
I call it true school choice, because in that system, wherever the student goes, that is where the funding goes. So the school is not setting up their budget based on on the number of students specifically, and therefore it's not going to take away from their budget because they still have an overhead. They still have to keep the lights on regardless, right, of
Of
whether or not
course.
they have.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing I would champion. It's a change in the way that our budget is taking place for our state system. I would like to
Yeah.
have
So
something very similar to how Florida has it. And because of their $8,000 voucher that they provide, and they've been doing this for several years now, they have over 700 charter schools in Florida. So lots of choices, and everybody is aware. So you have a lot of parent engagement, right? So we have barely 96 charter schools here in the state of Georgia. A lot to catch up with. Very few options for parents if they're looking for something other than the public school.
yeah, so it's basically ensuring that education policy and decisions align more with like the outcomes for students rather than bureaucracy,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here in the state of Georgia, and I don't know if it's the same in New York, but in the state of Georgia, 50% of our school budget goes to management.
Yeah, it's probably at least that here.
That's atrocious to me. That's an
Yeah.
atrocity. It needs to go to the students, to the teachers, to the schools, right?
Yeah.
In that order, not to the management.
So you also served on the Georgia Department of Community Health, right?
Correct. Yes, I was appointed.
So how by
Governor Kemp.
Kemp. I couldn't remember his name.
That's okay.
um but serving on that, how has that given you some experience at that intersection of health policy and education?
Got it. Well, it gave me a lot of experience into how slow government responds to
Oh,
things.
man.
So
Yes.
coming from a world where you're the entrepreneur and you're the decision maker and you make the decision and it happens the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on a board, especially on a government board, because I've been on boards for other corporations, nonprofits, and things still move pretty quickly. We make a decision and maybe in the next quarter,
Relatively,
we
right?
have right, right. But in government, everything moves so slow, very, very slow. First, you have to have hearings for any decision that you have, which is good, right? Public discourse. But that could be a 6 month process just for the hearing. And then on top of that, you have to, provide time for anyone to submit letters and, letters of support or, against your proposals. It's such a long, lengthy process. I mean, you forget by the time you're voting on something to be approved, it might be 6, 9 months later. You forget really what it was all about. So you have to refresh your memory, go back and do research on it. So that's one of the things that it taught me is to really change my expectations when you're dealing with government as far as how fast things can move. That being said, when you have a mandate, when you have the support of the public behind you, you can do things much quicker. Which is why presidents are toot their horns with what they can get accomplished in the first 100 days because they
Yeah.
have this fresh mandate, right, from the public. So it's definitely important to get the public involved early and have them really champion your policy because then things can move quicker. not
Right.
not not as fast as corporate America, but definitely a little bit.
Speed of government. Mm,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
marching on.
I so part of my background, one of my lives, I will say, has a lot to do with mental health.
Okay.
Um, and I find as being the father of four daughters myself, sometimes mental health is and wellness in general,
Right.
right? Can be a problem, especially nowadays
Uh-huh.
with the internet and all these things, right? Social media.
Yes.
One of the best things that we did in New York, now it's state law and it's actually like night and day in a month.
Hmm.
Um, they we lock up kids' phones at school.
Wonderful. Yes.
And it's a wild process, but it works. Um, so I was just wondering, like schools, how do you see schools better supporting student mental health and wellness in in addition to their academic goals? Because it
Definitely.
it does
Mhm.
very much go hand in hand, obviously.
It does. It does. So on a side note, I wrote a book in the aftermath of COVID called "Be the Superhero of Your Story" because I saw so much issues with, you know, anxiety and depression, and we
Yeah.
know that suicide rates went up, drug addiction, alcoholism, all of that. And so I'm very much, and I have a background in mental health as well. Actually, I put myself through college working in psych wards and rehabilitation facilities and things like that. So I truly believe that it's important to refrain whenever we have a challenge. It's so important to teach our children what resilience looks like and how to be resilient. That being said, I am also on the steering committee of a program called LifeWise. And it's a nationwide program that partners with public schools to train children on biblically based character development. And it has a proven record. Every school that LifeWise is involved with has had a decrease in behavior problems, has had a decrease in anxiety and depression. And so I can tell you that my very first thing that I'm going to green light when I become superintendent of schools is LifeWise in all of our school systems because it's a no-brainer. It's zero cost to the students, zero cost to the parents, zero cost to the schools, but yet it has these amazing benefits. And one of the number one complaints that teachers have is behavior issues, right? Teachers want to teach, but they're unable to because of the
In all
classroom,
ages of children too.
in all ages. And so, and if we can have this program, as long as parents are approved, parents have to be approved that of their child attending. But as long as we have something that is proven to help with these issues, with these mental health issues, why not try that?
Absolutely. I just think it's not that it's overlooked. I just think that a lot of schools don't necessarily know how to go about it, right?
Correct. Right.
So to have a system like that already working is amazing. Um, and with that, there's obviously, I know there's debate among the candidates, right, about the best path for Georgia schools. So I guess I just want to ask the questions: what distinguishes your approach from others in the race?
So I can tell you on the GOP side, right, there are five of us running. So the incumbent, as I mentioned, who really needs to leave. So after 11 years and your poor record, yeah, it's time to go. Then there's another person running who's a superintendent. I think he's a nice guy, but I think it's more of the same. Then there's another young lady who has zero experience in
Yeah.
as a parent, knowing what it's like to have children that needed a different environment than what the public school system offered, and haven't succeeded in that. Because my children have thrived because of that decision that my husband and I made, and also because of my background in vocational school. And I truly believe that our children need to have vocational education in high
And that's one of the biggest things to me that I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So it's like, how does that work? I mean, what if it just doesn't fit with some kids? You know what I mean? Obviously, it's one of those things that I think as long as it's an option and it's promoted, not discouraged, I think we're going to do great things, right?
Yeah, the majority of children will always still attend public school. So that's
Yeah,
public school isn't
of
going
course.
anywhere.
Yeah. And that's
It's
one of those
free.
things, they're not going anywhere.
They're
So
not going
it's not
anywhere.
like you're battling against public school. It's the square hole, round peg mentality is that not all kids are the same.
Correct. Yeah, because they're not. They're not all the same,
Not even close.
and we need to make sure that we are giving parents options and giving them the ability to be engaged. As I mentioned, my daughter, she went to a Montessori school for a few years and then returned to the public school system. So it's not like you want to leave the public school system. It's like that forever. We're just saying for some children, a few years of a different environment, a learning environment, is very beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, at least having the option and the balance of choice
Correct.
is huge.
Hmm.
And yeah.
And we have
So
options in just about everything else, right? Why not have
yeah,
options in this area?
we do. You don't have the monopoly.
Right.
Well, we shouldn't.
We should not. Right.
Yeah. So how do you respond to, like, because I know this is one of those things, and this goes in all aspects of government at this point, right?
Hmm.
Not just schools, but the response for more accountability and transparency
Definitely.
with spending and curriculum
Hmm.
oversight and all these things. It's complex, but yet not. Um, how do you respond to those calls?
First and foremost, we need to change the way that we do our budget because it's so complicated that it lends itself to corruption, right? So
Transparency for
I
sure.
truly believe that if the people that are auditing it, if the lay person can't figure out what's happening, lends itself to corruption. Secondly, we need to go back to basics. This whole idea of bad curriculums and bad textbooks is a shame, a crying shame, because we know what's happening. We know that all we're doing is padding the pockets of these companies. That's all that's happening. Children aren't benefiting from it. changing textbooks every 2, 3 years and curriculums every 2, 3 years is confusing at best, right, to families and children. So we need to stop that. We just need to go back to basics. Go back to fun, right? It was a proven system. It worked. Let's just go back to
Yeah.
fun. Let's go back to things that work and make sure that our children are succeeding. Um, Mississippi actually did this. They went back to basics and they improved their rankings from 50th up to 6th just by going back to basics. So it works. It works to go back to basics. I also like to see us get rid of the milestone exams that we have here in Georgia because they're literally just teaching children to take a test
Yeah.
from
Standardized testing
February,
in general.
yeah, from February through April. That's all teachers are doing is teaching to a test. So definitely, I would very much impose regular audit on the system wide. But we first need to change our budget system so that we are able to clearly and easily track where the money's going.
Yeah. I mean, it all starts there, right? With the money. I mean, unfortunately.
Follow the money.
Yeah. But so what's one concrete change that Georgia families could expect to see in the first year of your leadership?
Right. So the three initiatives that I've just mentioned are easy to be adopted. So the expansion of the Promise Scholarship Act from 6,500 to 8,000 for everyone, and not have all these regulations and stipulations attached to that. That's something that we can mandate, or if need be, if it needs to go through the legislature, then you can definitely have that go through the legislature on that first year. As far as the trade school, again, another mandate. We are already doing the dual enrollment. It's just a matter of saying this is a priority for Georgia. We're going to make sure that all of our students are now using that dual enrollment funding towards trade. Uh, Changing the QBE budget system, again, a mandate, right? That's something that we don't need to have legislature involved in that. You can just easily change that. We can. And those things will have a huge impact on our school system. But I've been going around the whole state and talking to different stakeholders. I've spoken to principals and superintendents, parents, teachers, you name it. From superintendents, I hear that we need better accountability for attendance again. Prior to COVID, there was accountability. After COVID, not so much. During COVID and after COVID, not so much. I understand
Changed a
that,
lot, didn't it?
right? It did change a lot, but we need to go back to that accountability. So I will definitely. I listen and I try to accommodate those things that I can accommodate, and that's one of those things that you can accommodate. As far as teachers, I spoke to a preschool teacher, and she said, we don't really have any specific goals on how many letters students have to learn. They just tell us that they have to learn some letters. Some is not a goal, right?
Yeah.
So we need to
That's
have
bizarre, right?
very, very bizarre. We need to have very specific goals for our teachers, guidelines for our teachers to know. Okay, this is a metric that I need to meet in this area. And like I mentioned, all teachers, the main issue that I keep hearing over and over and over again is behaviors. Behaviors. Now, they're also very concerned about all the mountain of documentation that they have to do. So we really do need to address that because teachers didn't go to school to be paper and pencil pushers. They went to school to teach. And so we need to give them the ability to do that as much as possible.
Yeah. So you just kind of alluded, or you just kind of touched on that with the some letters. I read on, I think it was on your campaign site, you've emphasized reading literacy by the 3rd grade.
Yes.
Is that it?
That is correct.
How would you improve early literacy across districts? I mean, yeah, that seems like, kind of a huge,
It is.
huge thing.
So it needs to be taught early, right? And if we use phonics, it can be. So preschool, kindergarten, I say really that by 1st grade, if a child isn't reading those 2 letters and combined consonants and vowels together, they need to be held back. I truly believe that. Because here's the thing, Bennett, by third grade, if a child is not reading, they are building prisons based on those statistics.
Yeah.
They know that if they're not
Yeah.
reading by third grade, they're not going to learn how to read later. It's very,
Yeah.
very difficult. And if you're not reading, you can't do math problems. You can't learn history. You can't do science and a myriad of other things. And so we need to emphasize literature and literacy programs at a very early age. That should be our number one priority.
Yeah. So, another question,
Mhm.
that's kind of, I mean, it's political, but not political. It's just, it's a personal question.
Okay.
Like, how does you traveling around the state and whatnot? There's two parts here. What have you found talking to teachers and parents and whatnot? What are they seeing as the big problem? Like, and maybe it's not, but what their perception, I guess is the right word, the
hmm
perception of parents and teachers on what is the actual problem.
So it's behaviors that I'm hearing over and over and over again. It's the
Behavior.
behaviors. It's that it's a different classroom now than it was 10, 20 years ago, and or actually even just before COVID. So things have shifted so much just in the past few years a- alone. So I don't know if COVID, because of the isolation and the mental health strain that caused, that was it's become a negative, um, has had a negative side effect in the classroom itself. But yes, teachers just need a lot of support right now. And that is why, as I mentioned earlier, just really focusing on that character development courses. Uh, there's other things, by the way, that we can do for mental health and behavior. But that's just one that's an easy one that it's cost neutral because there's no cost to the school at all. That's a completely private funded program.
Yeah. Understand. How does your faith and personal philosophy guide your vision for education and community service?
Right? It guides everything. I don't do anything that is not faith driven. It informs my everyday, informs every decision that I make. It informs my passion because I can't sit back and see injustice or see children suffering from the school system. I mean, we have children graduating high school that are now having to go on to remedial courses in college because they didn't get the education that they needed. It's a waste of their time that they have to go through 12 years of high school of K-12 and get so little out of it. The Bible says, "Who much is given, much is required," right? And so I'm a true believer that I was able to benefit from you know being able to provide these things to my children. And I believe that we should be able to do that for all children. It shouldn't just be a select few that have these options.
Sure. And they, I hate to, I hate to use the cliche thing, but they're our future folks. They really are. I
They
mean,
are. They
they're the
are.
future leaders of this country, and they're the ones that are going to be making the decisions when you and I are
And,
old and
and taking care of
retired
us,
and
hopefully, right?
taking care of us.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. I mean, I'm just thankful I have 4 daughters because at least I'll never be homeless. That's what I always
At
say to
least
my
one of them will take care of dad, right? That's
exactly. I'm not going to make all of them too mad.
right.
So my
That's
wife, she hates it when I say that,
yeah.
but whatever. It is
Right,
what
right.
it is. Last words that you have, like just tell us, the audience what you want to tell them.
So I truly believe that we're all here for a purpose, right? We were given a purpose by God before we even made it to earth, right? And it's our job to discover our purpose. And once we find out what our purpose is, we have to courageously go after it because it's so easy to just follow the crowd, follow the flow. You've heard the saying, you were born an original, don't die a copy. It's so easy to just follow what everyone else is doing. But guess what? You have a predetermined purpose in life, and it's difficult sometimes to figure out what that is. Right? I had a pastor that said once that the two important days in your life: the day that you were born and the day that you discovered your purpose. So discovering your purpose it's a bit of a challenge, but once you discover it, you have to go after it tooth and nail. You have to go after it with your passion, full force. And I just encourage all of your listeners to do that. Two books that I would recommend to get you there is Rick Warren's The Purpose Given Life. Right? There's a 40-day workbook that comes with it. And also Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Those two books can really help point you to discovering your purpose and going after it, with full passion.
I was just looking because I know I have that book
You
right
have
there.
it? Okay. It's a good book, isn't it?
I have a lot of books, but
Got
it's
it.
here somewhere. Either way, I know
Yeah.
I've read it.
Yes.
And then final question. What can listeners do now to get involved or support your vision for Georgia education?
Wonderful. Well, if you are in the state of Georgia, I would obviously love your vote. So go vote for me in the primaries in May.
I know a whole lot of people at Fort Benning. I'm just saying.
Awesome. If you're not in the state of Georgia, you can still do a lot. You can pray for me. Obviously, you can go on my website, check it out. I have got my books listed there at my website, drnelvalee.com. That's drnelvalee.com. I have got books there. You feel free to purchase one of my books. Feel free to look on, I have podcast interviews listed there, my speeches. So yes, so that's one way that your listeners can support me.
Amazing. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Bennett. Yes, thank you for having me.
And as this gets farther along, if you would like to come back on, I give you an open invitation.
Wonderful. I would definitely take you up on that.
And we can figure out something to talk about.
Sure.
Maybe we'll talk about entrepreneurship.
I've
whatever.
got lots of topics. Yes.
Exactly. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Carry the fire through shadows and storm. Voices of yesterday guiding us on. Echoes of duty, the call we still hear. Building tomorrow with courage, not fear. Stand your ground, keep the watch through the night. Guarding tomorrow where freedom's alight. Through every trial, the truth will endure. Full spectrum frontiers, steady and sure. From fields of the past to horizons unknown, the seeds that we plant are the future we own. Stories of valor, of lessons we've learned, a legacy